No matter how hard you try to beat the system, you can't escape this one truth. We need money to survive. Sure, you can try to live rent-free with your parents for as long as possible, but this isn't the lifestyle that most of us want to live when you turn 18 and you're just itching for independence. We need money for things, to save for your first house, to go on holiday, to buy things, and this can't exist without the money. So why doesn't anyone teach us about how to manage money? I can't recall ever learning about money in school. Instead, they focused on practical things like how to write in cursive and do long division, which of course I still use every day. My parents didn't talk much about money either. I'm guessing you probably have no idea how much money your parents made when you were a kid. My parents taught me about saving money, little things like we would rarely go out to eat, and if we did, we'd never order appetizers at a restaurant. But we never talked about the other side of the equation, how to make money or how to invest. So once I left home, I had to quickly learn how to manage my money on my own. And quite frankly, it took me many years of trial and error to learn this. Especially after law school with more than $200,000 of student loans that I had to pay back, I had to get good at money fast. Hi, I'm Erica. I'm a lawyer and make videos about personal finance on this channel. And in today's video, I want to share with you 15 financial tips that I wish I knew when I was 18. These are things that I didn't learn at 18 and some took many years to implement in my life, but I'm hoping to share them with you today so that you can be ahead in your life when it comes to money. Let's get started with tip number 1. New isn't always better. Especially when you're young, everyone is chasing after the latest new thing. The new iPhone, the latest 8K Canon camera, or in-season clothes. Whatever your thing is, there's likely to be a lot of peer pressure for you to get the latest thing. But you have to ask yourself, do I really need this now? Is the latest phone that much better than the one I currently own? At least in my opinion, phones haven't changed much in the last 6 years. The cameras are getting better and they run a little faster. But if it took longer for Apple to make a phone, then probably no one would even notice. YouTubers are a notorious bunch in this regard. They think that in order to get views, they need the best camera, the best lenses, the latest sound recorder. But here's the sad truth. Google has reported that 3 in 4 adults watch YouTube on their mobile devices, even at home. And when a video is scaled down to match a phone's resolution, there are very few people who can notice the difference between HD and 4K. So consider saving your money and not always buying the latest flashy things, and buy things because you want them and they're practical, not because you're feeling pressure to fit in or impress others. Tip number 2, buy secondhand. If your place is unfurnished or lacking some vital appliances, then buying them secondhand is a no-brainer. Do you really need a new couch? Or can you buy a used couch from Craigslist for 30% of what you'd pay for a new one? When I was in school, I don't think I had a single piece of new furniture. Everything from my bed to my table to my couch was secondhand. You can also use this tip for the first point I mentioned. Maybe if the latest generation tech is out of your budget, try to find it secondhand, which is actually what I did for the camera that I use for this channel. Tip number 3, open a credit card. People fear credit cards as if owning one would instantly skyrocket you into debt. I was always taught that they were bad, which is why I didn't have one at 18. They're not that bad, I promise you, and actually owning one could save you a lot of money in the long run. But don't get stuck in the trap of buying more than you can afford by using credit cards. It becomes so easy to forget that the money on credit is real money, and they will be asking for it back. So only spend on the card what you can afford and know that you can pay back that month. Otherwise, you'll be hit with paying really high interest. Credit cards are a great way to build up your credit score, which down the line can help you a lot when you want to buy your first house or refinance your student loans, for example, because you might end up with a lower interest rate. Also, many cards allow you to earn cash back or points on all of your purchases. That means that you can actually earn while spending. I use my points to pay for free flights and free hotels. Now, for most young people, getting approved for your first credit card might be difficult. One way to get around this is letting your parents or your legal guardian add you as an authorized user to their credit card. Or you can get a card like the ones I have linked below that are usually pretty good about approving you even if it's your first card. For your first card, you'll want one without an annual fee because ideally you'll want to keep it open forever since the length that you've had your credit card factors into your credit score. Tip number 4, open a Roth IRA. One of the best things you can do for yourself is to open a Roth IRA as soon as possible. These are basically retirement accounts where you pay taxes on the money going in, but then when you take the money out at retirement, It's all tax-free, including the money that you've made on your investments inside the account, the gains. The sooner you start, the better, and it is so easy to get started. Even if you don't have that much spare cash to invest, just $50 a month or $25 a month is a really great start. Sure, you're not going to become an instant millionaire by investing $50 a month for a few years, but what you are doing by starting early is benefiting from the power of compound interest. And I have a video that I'll link below that shows you exactly how to open a Roth IRA. Just make sure that you don't make the mistake that a lot of people make. When you put money into your Roth IRA, you don't want it to just sit there. You have to then, within the account, invest that money into stocks or index funds or other investments that you choose. Now for number 5, do you need college? Parents probably aren't going to like me saying this, but the truth is, I think that not everyone needs to go to college. And as someone who not only went to college, but also an additional 3 years of law school, I've realized that a lot of successful people in my life didn't go to college. I know in the US, there's a lot of pressure to go straight from high school to college, but I don't think it's a prerequisite to success in life. I think it's just that people make you feel like it is. And so if you want to, don't be afraid to take a year off before college. In Europe, it's really common to take a gap year before college. They take a year out either traveling or just working in order to figure out what they actually want to do. So instead of just following everyone else, really question yourself, do I need to go to college? Back in our parents' days, college was affordable, so it made a lot of sense to go. An article in Forbes found that the average cost of attending a 4-year college or a university in the US rose by 497% between 1985-86 and 2017 and 18 academic years, more than twice the rate of inflation. On top of that, there are studies that have found that only 27% of people work in the field that they studied, meaning that college doesn't necessarily guarantee a good, high-paying job. Instead of feeling like college is the next necessary step and you have to do it, I'd think about if it's something you really want to do, especially with how much college has increased in price over the last decades. My next tip is, do I really need this? This is a question you want to ask yourself before making any purchasing decisions. Look, I know in school there's a lot of pressure to keep up with everyone, but a lot of this comes from everyone thinking that the other person is judging them for not having this new thing. Once you break the cycle, you'll realize that your true friends don't mind what you wear or which gadgets you own. Some of them may even be relieved because they no longer have to keep up with you. This is something I wish I knew in college. I remember my freshman year, I spent over $1,000 on sneakers in hopes of impressing people. I didn't buy them because I wanted them. I was just chasing after this belief that owning cool shoes would make me a cool person, and in turn, I'd make friends. But now looking back, I realize how silly that was, because the kind of people that you attract when you're trying to impress people with what you have or what you're wearing probably are not people that you want as friends. They probably don't care about you as a person. Number 7, have a budget. The word budgeting gets a bad rep, but here's the reality. What's important about having a budget isn't so much the exact budget you follow, but the fact that you're doing it. You're taking the time to be intentional about looking at how you're spending your money. Especially when you're first starting out, I wouldn't worry about sticking to any specific budgeting plan. At first, start small. Just spend a day going over your expenses and put them all into a Google Sheet. List everything, your phone bill, how much you're spending on food, going out, parties, etc. Then try to work out for yourself what can be reduced. I know how easy it is to spend all of your money every month without a care in the world, but even saving a little each month will benefit you in the long run, because instead of then relying on the cycle of paycheck to paycheck, you can start building up an emergency fund, an investment portfolio to make your money work for you. And if you are looking for a more solid budget to follow, you can take a look at the 50-30-20 rule. It's pretty straightforward. 50% of your earnings go to necessities, rent, food, bills. 30% on wants, the movies, drinks with friends, new clothes, and 20% go to savings. If you're looking for a more in-depth explanation, then you can check out this video, which I'll also link below. Number 8, move out when you're ready. I had to move out as soon as I went to college because my parents were living in Germany at the time, and I went to a college called Notre Dame, which is all the way across the world in South Bend, Indiana. But looking back, I would have loved to just spend a little more time with them instead of moving away so soon. Once you graduate and start working, you begin to cherish those moments with your parents. Work takes priority, and before you know it, you're only seeing your parents at Christmas. With living with your parents, there's also the added bonus of saving a lot of money instead of giving that money to your landlord or to the dorms. Also, I feel like it's become more normalized. In July 2020, it was reported that 52% of young adults resided with one or both of their parents. In other countries, it's even higher. In Italy, it's 80.6%, Slovenia 76.4%, and Greece 76.3%. So don't feel ashamed for living at home because there are some great benefits. This next tip is one of my favorites: get a job and then a side hustle. If you haven't already, then I highly recommend getting a job, even if you're a full-time student. Anything will do. It really gives you perspective in life and looks great on your resume. Also, you can't save money if you're not making any money. So bite the bullet and start applying for jobs. In college, I had many jobs. I worked at Subway, Burger King, and an ice cream store, and was also the academic tutor for the football team. In law school, I was a bartender. And these jobs aren't necessarily going to be where you want to work forever, but it's about building that work ethic and also getting a little cash in the bank. Then after you have your job, also consider getting a side hustle. I always say that having one income stream is too close to zero, and this is something I didn't learn until just a few years ago. If these last 2 years have taught us anything, it's that the world is unpredictable. So you have to find yourself additional sources of income. Even if it's some freelancing on the weekends, at least you know that if something happens to your main job, then you have something to fall back on. Tip number 10 is don't rush yourself. When our parents were young adults, there was a lot less pressure on them to rush into things. They didn't have this constant stream of social media reminding them every day that someone somewhere is living their best life and seems to be doing better than you in life, whether that means making more money or having a better career or a more glamorous lifestyle. When our parents left high school, if they wanted to see how their peers were doing, they'd need to call them if they had their number. This made it a lot easier, I assume, to just focus on what was right in front of them. A quote that I like is, "Wherever you are right now is where you are meant to be." So don't let the pressure of everyone already has X, Y, and Z get to you. Go at your own pace. As a lawyer, I can't stress enough the importance of this next tip. Practice negotiating. For a long time, I had the masterclass ad on my YouTube where Chris Voss says, "Everything in life is a negotiation. Life is a negotiation." And I am a firm believer in this. Start practicing negotiating as soon as possible. Negotiate your bills, your rent. Check for student discounts in stores. Negotiate your salary. Because the better you can get at negotiating now, when the stakes are lower, maybe it's just a couple dollars off your phone bill, the better you're going to be in the future where it'll really pay off, and we're talking maybe thousands of dollars of increase to your salary. Number 12 is network. Surround yourself with people who are more successful than you are. If you're the smartest person in the room, it might be good for your ego, but not for your growth. A lot of people give this advice of start networking, but I remember at 18, I had no idea how to even start. It seemed like such fluffy advice. So here's the practical guide. Start by reaching out to 10 people who are ahead of you in life, in their career, whatever it is. LinkedIn is a really great place to do this. Then simply ask them questions you'd like to know. Ask them if they do a 15-minute virtual coffee with you. There's one thing people love, and it's talking about themselves. So give them the opportunity to do that and soak up that knowledge. And then after that, start building the relationship. Set a reminder in your calendar to message them every quarter. Simple things like checking in on them and telling them how you're doing, or congratulating them on any new developments that they might have, and just generally being friendly. Build these organic connections because you never know where you'll get because of your network. These people might be able to help you find positions in the future, and if you're lucky, maybe even hire you within their own company. The next tip is to understand your student loans before taking them out. The big irony of life in the US is that getting a credit card at 18 is harder than pulling out $100,000 in student loans. Taking money out for school is a huge investment in your life, so you need to understand what you're getting into before you sign on that dotted line. Read the terms and get a clear picture of the student loans. When do you have to pay them back? What's the interest rate? Also think about whether you're actually going to get a return on your investment. Before you commit to a school, see what percentage of the students actually have a job at graduation and the average salary. The reality is, not all schools are created equally, especially from the perspective of employers. If you go to Harvard, you're probably not going to have trouble finding a job that'll actually allow you to pay back your student loans. But if you go to a regional, lesser-known school, it might not be as easy. Number 14 is read one personal finance book. I think that Rich Dad, Poor Dad is a really good one to start with that helped me to change my mentality around money. In the book, he outlines the difference in mentality between, as he calls it, his rich dad and his poor dad. As a child, the author grew up in a middle-class family, but his father didn't know how to manage his wealth and had a lot of limiting beliefs about money. Robert Kiyosaki then met his friend's father, a rich dad. This dad taught him how to make money work for him and not the other way around. I really love this book, and because there's so much storytelling intertwined with the practical finance tips, it's not as dry and I think you'll enjoy it. And my final tip is don't buy a new car. Just my personal opinion that buying a new car is probably one of the worst financial decisions a person can make. Sure, it looks nice, but as soon as you drive it off the lot, it drops in value by 30%. To me, there's no logic in owning something that loses almost a third of its value as soon as you buy it. Cars are good for 10, 15, maybe even 20 years. As long as you do some research before buying your secondhand car, you're going to be just fine. And if you're lucky enough to know someone who knows about cars, then maybe ask them if they don't mind coming with you to look at these used cars. And of course, use your negotiating skills. Okay, so these were my top 15 financial tips for 18-year-olds and young adults. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please don't forget to give me a thumbs up and subscribe below. I do personal finance videos on this channel. And if you're looking to start investing, then check out the link in my bio. I have some special offers there for you. When you open an account and deposit $100, you're gonna get some free stocks, and there's also a limited time bonus. I'd love to see you next in this video. It's where I share 15 side hustles that you can start today to add up those extra income streams. Thanks so much for watching again, and I'll see you in the next one.